to the life they saved. Real talk, real vets, every tale's got pride. From the battlefield's edge to the home front side. Tune in, turn it up, hear the heroes speak. The Vet Files bring the truth every week. From the fight to the mic, it's a soldier's life. You're live with the Vet Files, real stories, real life. Vet Files, real stories, real life. Vet Files, real stories, real life.
Got my trusty old cane here that I have to use now.
I like using a cane, man. They come in, they help you walk, they help you keep people in line.
Hey.
Yeah, just pop them in the head. Plus, it kind of gives you that look like, don't mess with me. Kind of gives you freedom, like whenever you get older, too, especially when you hit your 50s, you start to just say, shit, you don't give a crap anymore, what you say, and people don't question you.
Yeah.
They're like,
okay.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Vet Files, another exciting episode. It's me, Matt Cochran, along with Mr. Ken Freeney, the star of the show. Good morning, Ken.
Good morning. Don't know if I would go that far.
Yeah, star of the show, man.
More like a moon streak, quarter moon.
Now, you're like the Lady Gaga of veterans.
I wish.
Oh, hey. Man. So we were going to talk a little bit today about some folks that kind of help shape your life and tell you a lot of things and promise you a lot of things and pretty much lie to you a lot and just all kinds of things. And no, we're not talking about lawyers today. Oh, that's a whole nother story. But recruiters, everybody's got a great recruiter story. And, we were talking right before we started recording about my dad. I was born here in Tennessee, but all my family's from Western North Carolina, but he was over here working construction because he couldn't get any work anywhere else. And he was bringing home $25 a week back then. This is 52 years ago. And you were saying something that's a big thing, a big draw. One of the promises that you hear from a recruiter about all the money you're going to make. Take it all the way to the bank.
And that's always been the joke about recruiters is they lied to you to get you in. And some of them played upon your sensitivity. Some of them played upon your manhood. Some of them played upon your financial situation, and I don't know if your recruiter lied to you or not. My first recruiter didn't. And I went and saw all of them. I saw the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air. I sat down and talked with every one of them. And to be honest, that recruiting station here had went through a overhaul. One of the recruiters was sleeping with some high school students. A lot of things went on in the recruiting department.
Yeah.
Not just where we were at the time. And it wasn't in Tennessee. It was in Kentucky. I ain't gonna lie about that. And that happened up there. But the ones I spoke to that had come along, even the Marine Corps recruiter was very professional, very honest. He wasn't a psycho nutcase, making promises and lying. He was very straightforward.
If I'm lying, I'm a dying.
Yeah. And, no promises. Now, they leave a lot of stuff out. I mean, they don't tell you what people are going to be screaming and yelling at you and throwing stuff. And,
recruiters, I knew right away Army was the only way I went. So I didn't talk to anybody else. I had that in my head. But the recruiters we had at our high school, I think they were infantry because that's the only job that they would promote. They wouldn't tell you, you'd start asking about, well, what other things? Oh, man, you need to go infantry. You need to go airborne school. Infantry. So that's, they made you feel like you were going to be a G.I. Joe, I guess, and boosted that little ego up.
Yeah. And, a lot of people get mad and, oh, my recruiter lied to me. And they do. Because I knew a guy that was a recruiter and he would stretch the truth and make promises that he knew couldn't deliver. And as a drill sergeant, I saw a lot of that because I remember this private come in one day. You're going to drop them, beat your face. Your first week, it's a lot of up and down. First time we drop him, this private is in front of me. He drops and he goes and hits his face. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, private, knock him out. And I turn around and hear, drill sergeant. And I'm like, what? And I turn around, his arms like all twisted up. And I'm like, oh, damn. You know,
Yeah.
not like this. But I'm like, oh, what the hell's going on? And he says, dislocated my shoulder, drill sergeant. Come to find out, his recruiter knew that he'd had a motorcycle accident and processed him anyway, got him through MEPS, got him to us. And the doctor was like, look, this dude, there's no way. His shoulder is so messed up, he's not ever going to be able to do a push-up. And the kid was crying.
System.
Yeah. But there's a loophole in the system. At the time, the National Guard had some clauses in there that if you was enlisted in the National Guard and not active duty Army, there was considerations made. So he had to go out, heal up, then he could come back in with the injury as long as he could get through boot camp and be in the National Guard. So that made the kid happy. It wasn't what he wanted, but it got him his service time that he wanted. And, you know, the recruiting is, if you talk about numbers, the change
way down.
Oh God. And
we're going to hit on that. I'm going to show you some stuff here in a little bit.
Okay. But I've looked at the numbers and I've kept in touch. I've been out 20 years, but it's like I've never got out. You know, I may have mentioned it before. My dad said, I wish I could get the military out of you. And, you know, it's stuck. And I've worked with a lot of veterans, but the mentality, Matt, of what kids are today, I'll say kids, teenagers, young men, women that's going in versus what we were, totally different.
So since you brought that up, let me go ahead and show you this. So this first clip I'm going to show you is Army recruiting video from the late 80s, maybe early 90s. All right.
Is
and then I'm going to show you.
Is this the guy with the coffee cup?
No, I couldn't find that one. But I'm just going to show you how serious this. Let's see. Let's watch this one.
Never takes the easy way out.
Man, makes you feel like you just want to go.
Each of the Rangers is tough, and the training is tough. So it makes me feel like I'm part of something really special.
All that you can be.
And I'm not the only one.
I meant to call you because I thought about the guy in the field. And at the end of the commercial, he kneeled down with his coffee cup, and we do more by 9 a.m. than most people do. Blah, blah, blah.
I remember that one.
He's holding up the coffee cup. And morning, First Sergeant. I don't think there was a GI.
I remember that.
I don't think there was a GI that didn't want to go kick him in the face when that commercial come out. Because it
morning,
was
First Sergeant. Would you like some sugar for your coffee, First Sergeant?
Exactly. Nobody was that freaking happy doing that much shit before 9 a.m. Knowing your day wasn't going to be over till, if you was lucky, 1800. That was a lucky day.
Man.
But, you know, the commercials even changed. I mean, think about the commercials you see now.
All right. Let's take a look at one. This one's a little bit long. We don't have to watch the entirety of it, but this is the one of the newer Army promotions. Let's see if we can see this one.
It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms.
You done lost me.
Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age.
I can say that.
When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again.
This is
But
the
she
new
tapped
Army
in my family's pride to get
commercial?
back on her feet.
Yes.
Eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class, and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of other strong women.
Yeah, this is
But as graduation approached,
digital
I
campaign,
began feeling
social
like I'd been handed so much in life.
Oh, you got
A sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women, But what had I really achieved on my own? One of my sorority sisters was studying abroad in Italy. Another was climbing Mount Everest. I needed my own adventures, my own challenge. And after meeting with an Army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength and maybe shatter some stereotypes along the way.
More like Space Force.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that's the Army's new digital campaign.
See, and here's the difference for one of the things I see. Back then, they didn't clarify whether you was white, black, gay, lesbian,
Right.
Baptist, Catholic, nothing. They pushed that uniform, that green uniform across the board.
Right.
And
All bleed green.
yeah, and they didn't discuss money that much because there wasn't none. I remember there were some old videos with the World War II vets, sitting on the side, and the kid comes home, or here, it wasn't even a war hero. It was like a kid that completed training, getting off the plane, seeing mom and dad. Very realistic the way it used to be when you first come home on leave after boot camp. Got your uniform on. They left the language out. You went from "Hi, mom and dad" to "What the fuck's for dinner, mom?"
Well, all the numbers are way down except for the Marine Corps. They're the only ones that hit their target goal every time. And the Marine Corps basically says, we haven't lowered our standards. We're staying true to what we are. Now, that commercial that we just saw, that's all well and good. I'm not going to make fun of them. If that's the way you want to do or whatever, that's fine. But for me, that seemed more like a Peace Corps recruitment kind of campaign versus a military kind of campaign to recruit you.
That wasn't recruiting military members. And let's face it, when the recruiters are up there talking to you, they're having a hard time selling it. Because one, they don't talk about these things. They don't talk about what happened to you after the service. In this day and age, a lot of kids are seeing what happened to the generations. Mm-hmm. World War II, the movies, Saving Private Ryan. I mean, things have gotten really realistic. But when you're recruiting for the military, you're not recruiting for politics. You're recruiting for the enforcement of warfare. That is so, what it's about.
Let's compare this to. So I pulled up some other countries, whether you like them or not, but some of their current recruiting videos. Here's
Каким
Russia.
ты был прежде, уже никого не волнует. Теперь важно то, кем ты будешь сегодня. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сможешь потом спокойно спать? Узнать себя, познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы. Ты готов ломать себя до изнеможения. Каждый день. Здесь боль закаляет. Шрамы, повседневность. Это ты решил себе что-то доказать. Командир здесь только для того, чтобы ты мог увидеть в нем врага. Потому что без врага нет боя, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле главный враг вчерашний. Твоя задача выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он, и вернуться назад победителем.
Now you see that on the world stage, and you're comparing that, and you're like, you're a dude in Russia, you're high up, you're one of the military commanders, you're in their Pentagon chief of staff.
Let's go to war with the U.S.
Dude, they're not going to do nothing but protest us.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad though that we have to go to that, and again, it's that video. I think that's why a lot of the recruiting numbers are down, is because
you're absolutely right, because there is no reward for being good at what you do anymore. It's just like lowering the standard. We said years ago when they started, that generation gap or whatever, when this started, that lowering the standards would not only allow women to get in, which nobody was really against women get in. They just believed that women had to toe the line. But you allowed men that were substandard to get into things. So it wouldn't matter. Let's just say it was underwater basket weaving course, the Russian Spetsnaz, whatever. Right. But you're setting at this level of training, and you say, well, we need to let women in. The Israelis do it. We need to let them in. Well, instead of maybe just a little dip, they kept lowering the standard, said, okay, now the woman has passed. She's got in there. We found a good standard. But what they didn't realize was when it was here and these guys were here and the women was here, these guys now get in. And it led to shit like that. Where
I remember whenever I rejoined back in 09, I run across some folks that they could speak a second language, right? Fluently, whether it be Spanish or Arabic or whatever it was. Never even been in the military. They automatically put them in as an E4.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. And I'm like,
Yep.
Okay, get it. You have a special skill, but
well, and you recruit special skills. I'm not against that. I mean, they've done it for years in the SEALs and the SF. I mean, they would recruit people for that, bring them in, process them, get them through boot camp, do their stuff, and move them over. Because a lot of people didn't know this. In order to, at the time, I don't know the rules today. I know that everything reoccurs, but at the time, if you wanted to go to SF and you were active duty, you had to be an E5 at the time you processed and graduated. A lot of rules was based on that, not just with those guys, but a lot of different jobs. You couldn't even apply till you had your E4 for special duties and other stuff. And that stuff the recruiter didn't tell them. Oh yeah, you go ahead and enlist, and when you get in, you just fill out this paperwork, and you can go do this, you can go do that. Yeah, it don't work.
Right. And as they would tell you all the time, and after you get in, you're going to have tons of free time for yourself. Don't worry about it. You're just going to be working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Well, yeah, but you did get the free time. What they didn't tell you was your ass was sitting on the tarmac. Yeah, loaded up, sitting there waiting for a deuce and a half. Because a deuce and a half driver got pissed and said, fuck this shit, I'm stopping over here.
Counting the cracks in the pavement or having ant races.
Yeah, and there's your like you said, buddy. The Marine Corps, though, and this is where people, I think, don't think when you talk recruiting. The Marine Corps knows their audience. The Army and Air Force, well, the Air Force still does. I think the Army is reaching for too much with this crap they're doing. The Navy obviously has their uniqueness that they're selling, the Coast Guard. But where the Marine Corps never let up was low-income families. They have always sold to the competitive people,
right?
And sold that mentality of we're the best, we're not paid the best, we're not this, we're not that.
Well,
this is what we are.
Proud, the Marine.
We are the proud. And growing up in a trailer and trailer parks, if I say something offends somebody, I'm sorry, but get over it. When we were trailer park or trailer trash or whatever, we were proud. Our tables were clean. Mom and dad put food on the table. There wasn't none of this. Oh, come over here and you don't have to get your hands dirty. I mean, you were sold on being a man or woman. And here's where I'm headed with the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps taught the women to be just as badass as the men.
I did.
I dated one of those psycho nutcases in 80-something, and she scared the hell out of me.
Crayon eaters.
Dude, when we got back, buddy of mine said, you didn't stay the night? No, blah, 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 blah. I said, hell no, I was afraid if I didn't perform, she'd kill me. All she talked about at dinner was ripping things apart and killing people. I was like, no. I don't want to get thrown through a window because I ain't the best sex guy or something, She was a lunatic. But no, they did, and still do, in my opinion, push that towards people. That sometimes it's arrogance and it comes across as wrong, but they've changed too. They put their names on their name tags, and they didn't do that. You was a Marine. Yeah. There was no name tag on a Marine uniform.
And they still don't, like the Army, or I think the Air Force does it. They still don't have patches on their shoulder for unit affiliations.
No, they don't.
They just have rank on the collar.
Yep, their dress uniform.
Right.
They don't have a lot of the ribbons and stuff, and they don't get them. I mean, they do now.
They're one of the sharpest uniforms.
Yep.
That I have seen. When you see a Marine, they are sharp.
And the Air Force uniforms wasn't too bad back in the day. They weren't great. The Army uniforms, the recruiters would show up and what they thought was the best thing. And the only thing that that turned me off to the Marine Corps was the arrogance of some of the people I had to deal with. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't believe in shit talking.
Yeah.
You either do or you don't. And when the recruiters showed up that last time, the guy they sent from the Marine Corps was so damn arrogant that he got his butt in a bind with another recruiter, and it almost led to a fight in the parking lot. And I saw where that arrogance was, and I was like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that's fixing to throw the ass whipping.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely Marine Corps is a different mindset, especially even if you go in there and you're just the biggest slug off the street, the laziest thing, and you make it through those 14 weeks, you come out, you're disciplined. You're ready to go. Yeah. You're ready to chew some crayons and eat some dirt.
And that's probably the rewarding part of the recruiting, when you know that you're delivering a honest package, so to speak, because they're selling a package. They're selling a 4-year
product at the end.
A friend of mine used to say, he says, man, I'm a travel arranger. I'm a travel agent. I'm selling a 4-year vacation package.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get education. You're going to get food. You're going to get room. You're going to get board. You're going to work your ass off. He was an Army recruiter. He said, but when you leave every stage of this 4 years, you're going to be better than you was.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what the old saying was, even when you stayed someplace, make it better when you leave than it was before when you got here. And that's what they did with you as a person too. But going back, I don't want to get canceled and stuff. It's not that I'm afraid, but shit, I think a lot of this, the recruitment things, is there's a lot of kids out there or young men, military age men, that would like to join, but they're damn so afraid to go into the damn military because of all of this DEI, all of this stuff. They don't know if they're going to get canceled or if they're going to offend somebody or whatever it is. Next thing you know, they're all hemmed up with AR-15, getting kicked out, bad records, and they just don't want to deal with it.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off. I'm not going to do that this time. I did that last week.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was going to say, one of the things I think that the Army's dealing with, and they have for all, you was talking about dress uniforms. Army is still kind of dealing, in my opinion, with their own identity of who they are, because in my time, I have seen they had Class A's, Class B's, dress blues, this, and now they went to the Army. They did away with all the greens, then they went to the blues, and now they did away with the blues. Now they went with the, the pinks, pink and greens, and then they had the BDUs, then they had the ACUs, which sucked, and now they had the desert camo, then they went back, and now they said, oh, no, now it's the multicam. Okay, so what are we doing here?
Yeah. Marine
Corps has changed maybe twice in the last 30 years.
And it's been subtle changes the way they do it.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden, they changed their uniforms. When did they do that? And then, the Army's wearing World War II type attire now, which I do kind of like that.
Pink and greens, that's what they call it. Which I kind of like that. I like the retro shit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I've got 3 different dress uniforms in my closet right now that are waiting. I'm going to take to Goodwill. I have no shit. I couldn't fit in those damn things anyway, unless I took about 4 years worth of Ozempic. But I mean, I get it. You got to have a few variations of your dress uniform, and I know the Marines do too. But you could go back and look at the Marines' dress uniforms and all the variations from the day back 60 years ago. Same thing.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that recruiting part of it. These kids see that. They see the change. They see that all this that's happening, but they don't have the confidence to be part of it. There's a lot of change going on worldwide. And we're talking about recruiting in the military. But if you think about the mentality of what we went through, they come down with the uniform change. It's like, son of a bitch, here we go again. But we got through it. We pushed through it. You deployed, you pushed through it. There's just so much that happened. These kids don't complete nothing today. There is no incentive to complete. It's easy to quit. It's like a divorce. You want to get a divorce, $250, you're out the door, minus what you may or may not have to pay outside. But the process, it's pretty easy compared to what it used to be. Going in the military. But there's no incentive.
I couldn't be a recruiter these days.
Nah.
I never was a recruiter, but I could imagine going through and trying and to find that one kid that's just going to even show up for MEPS.
Yeah.
You know,
And they can add. You're asking a lot from somebody. It's like going to a job interview and they say, well, we work 12, 16 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do 6, 7 days a week. And the guy sitting over here, man, I can make that shit at McDonald's. Why should I kill myself for you?
Yeah.
And the military has gotten that way. These kids are like, hey, you know, I can kind of go over here and smoke dope and jackass around at Amazon. So why should I join the military?
Yeah.
What's
McDonald's down the road's paying $20 an hour.
Yeah.
You know,
I think here, Chick-fil-A or somebody's paying $15 or $16.
Yeah. And they're paying for college too. I mean, it's the same thing. You get a different kind of uniform, but you make more money, right? Have a little more freedom.
And, you know, have you ever watched the show Starship Troopers?
Oh, yeah. That was a good movie.
You remember when they were
making a show too?
I think they may have or are going to.
Okay.
But you remember during the in processing, they're all going, they're leaving. They done got in a fight with their mom and dads, or they're out of there going to the military, and that dude turns around in the wheelchair and says, "Old military made me the man I am today." And they kind of look at him like, really? You know, and there's a lot more of that out there. I think that these kids that are, well, why should I tear my body up when I can play Call of Duty and get the same
experience?
You know, that's their mentality. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And I saw ROTC the other day, and I'm not going to be the person that picks up the 1-800 number. I can't. I'm physically just not there.
Right.
And, you know, you get me on a good day, Sundays like this, but I was disgusted to see what was getting on the buses for ROTC the other day. The haircuts, the uniform looking like crap, there is no, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the recruiters are up against a group that doesn't think they should have to clean up or take a bath. That if I want long hair, I can have long hair. Right. You can't tell me I can't have it. Well, it was
it's almost different. It's almost kind of like the hippie generation, but it's different from the hippie generation. I mean, they had the long hair, didn't want to take a bath. They wanted to go against the rules. But, you know, most of them went when they were drafted or they ran, whatever. But this generation, you're right, they don't want to get off the damn couch and do anything if it requires any kind of effort. A while back, I don't know where I was at, but I was around some young kids and I heard them talking. And I say young kids, probably teens, maybe even early 20s. You know, when you get old, everybody's young. But they were talking about, yeah, man, you ought to try out that M4. It's a lot better than the M16, but I really like the 50 cal. And I'm like, damn, when did y'all shoot these? Oh, when we had a tournament the other night on the whatever. I'm like, have you never fired one of these? No. I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess I can't talk to you about it. So
well, and and I think that's a lot of it. They get the mentality, they've done it because they've either seen it in a movie or video. It's like Sons of Anarchy and Yellowstone and Rocky. Anytime these TV shows come out, you've got Rocky brings out more boxers in one night that were professional grade boxers. Son of Anarchy brought out more 1% fight clubs than there was ever documented. Yellowstone brought out God knows what. I mean,
hey, I have to tell you, Yellowstone, man, I watched that and I had all the gear. I wanted to be
and what's funny is everybody falls into a category when that happened. Didn't matter that you had honed motorcycles since you were 6 years old. When Sons of Anarchy come out, you automatically fell in that or Yellowstone. You know, it isn't. But that's where a lot of this youth lives, is in a fantasy world. They don't know what reality is. And when recruiters are talking to them, they're basically trying to sell a package of something that mentally and physically, financially hurt your ass. And they're going, well, why should I do it? Well, why did you do it? Well, I did it because I get all this, you know, and I get this and I get this. My recruiter was kind of bullshit a little bit, but, you know, he pointed out some of the points. Yeah, you don't make this, but here's what you get. You get PCS assignments if you play your cards right. You know,
Those
you can
exotic
go
places like Hawaii and Europe.
Well, they did send me to Okinawa my second trip after AIT and it. Well, you know, so I can't complain about that. But you know, the uniforms was paid for, the meals were paid for. If you was in the back, there was a lot of financial stuff you didn't pay for, so your $400 a month was in your pocket.
Right.
Now I blew it on booze. I was so cheap, I wouldn't even buy hookers back then. My buddies go to hookers, and I'm like, no. My recruiter taught me one important thing.
Yeah.
Get something out of your money, you know, more than 5 seconds of entertainment. So they, and I used to laugh about that because I say 5 seconds of entertainment, but you could blow some money back. I mean, it didn't make squat. But we learned a lot. I mean, they sold the job skill. Let's just take the Air Force or Navy or even the Marine Corps, because of a kid I went to high school with pissed his Marine Corps recruiter off. He called him a P, you know what, referring to women's anatomies, because he wanted to be an electronic tech. And he told him, if I don't get electronic tech, I'm not going in the Marine Corps. Well, your dad was a Marine and Marines. He says, I don't give a shit about your bull crap. If I don't get electronic tech, I'll walk across that hall, join the Navy or the Air Force, or I'll go to the damn Coast Guard. Now, this was unheard of for a high school kid to do this. So his dad was pretty solid dude. And C stuck his ground. And, you know, the recruiter was, so you don't want to be infantry, you don't want to be a badass? He says, dude, I'm probably a bigger badass than you. And he said, here's the deal. When it comes to kicking ass, if I can't get it done, my dad can get it done. I'm going to be an electronic tech. And then finally the dude gave up and he got his electronic tech, did his 4 or 6 years in the Marine Corps, got his education, got his job. When he came out, he had a degree in something to do with electronics. I don't remember what it was. 5 years work experience in the job, you know, a good record to walk into a company. And I think he's been with the same company this entire time, 20 something, 30 years, you know. That's what the recruiter used to sell to us, you know, was what the benefits were by doing that 4 years, you know, education.
So since you hit that, I was going to wait and save this one for you. So I found this little short. It's from Vet TV, and I thought you'd appreciate it. But this is the recruiter telling the truth to this kid. It's only a few seconds. Hold on. Let's see if we can pull this up here.
This one right here basically says that you will be a raging alcoholic and barely be able to hold down a job once you get out. Cool. This one's kind of related. Basically, it means that no one will want to employ you if you put down your military experience on your resume because they think you have PTSD. Alrighty, cool.
And that's about the truth right there. That is so much the truth. And as they, you know, it's funny, you put those little snippets up.
Yeah.
Movies are so accurate these days. Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men, You Can't Handle the Truth, things like that. And that's really where we're at with some of this recruiting stuff we're talking about and the numbers being down. If you were broke back then, families didn't necessarily, my dad did not want me going in the military. He'd been there and he had not a bad experience, but it was rough times, Vietnam, things like that. And to this day, Vietnam vets hold a grudge, and they should. It is a well-established grudge, and they are owed a lot that they didn't get, like a lot of other veterans. But when the recruiting numbers drop like they are now, families used to be pushing that. The recruiters would lower their standards and be, look, there's no jobs, young man. If you can't get a job, I can't support you. I need you to go in the military. Hey, I need you to do this. You need to do something. And young men and women, I don't want to, women were enlisted too, because they couldn't get the education. They couldn't get into college because the colleges were so damn nitpicky and costly. They're even more costly now, wasted money. Plants were shutting down. I mean, there was just so many variables, and the recruiting adjusted to that. They read that, and people are going to say, "Oh, that's code," you know. And shut up. It's what it was.
Well, you saw it in 2008 during the economy collapse or debacle there. When everything tanked, especially the Army, I don't know the other branches, but they raised their enlistment age and lowered other tattoo standards, this, that, and the other. They raised the enlistment age. The cutoff used to be 34, something like that. They raised it to 42.
Yeah.
For people, and people were enlisted like crazy because they needed some work. They needed a job.
And you had to have your 20 in by 50 something, if I remember right.
As long as you could, if you were in that range there and you could do your 20 by a certain age. But all the neck tattoos were allowed. Used to, if you had a tattoo that showed past short sleeves or something, they had a restriction against that. That's all gone. Hand tattoos.
Yeah.
All of that. But and it adjusted to that economy. So I don't even think, though, what we're seeing right now is a reflection of what the economy is. I know everybody knows the economy sucks right now compared to 4 years ago. But I think, too, I don't even think that the kids even give a crap about that because they're still, all of them, God bless them. I look back now, they're living still at home at the age of 28 with mom and dad. And living off of them. But on the same hand, I'm looking at if they go out, how can they don't have these skills or whatever in the workforce? And then the cheapest place that they can get to rent is a crap hole for $1,500 a month. So it's kind of a catch-22. Now, me, I was always a go-getter. I didn't give a shit. I'd live in my car or whatever. I was going to be on my own.
Yeah.
But, if they look at the military and they go to those recruiters, they can say, okay, hey, I've got to put a little effort out, but it's sort of like living at home with mom and dad. Got a place to live, food to eat, don't have to worry about it, got clothes, and hell, I'm making a little bit of money.
And it's funny because all about that, they used to have the split option program, and I don't know if recruiting still has it. I picked up an entire freaking platoon of these little turd muffins one day, and it pissed me off.
From high school, the high school?
Yeah, where they go to boot camp during their junior to senior year. They go to boot camp
they
that
still
summer.
Do that.
They do National Guard or Reserve during the year, and then they do all their active duty stuff later. But at least they get a check. So we get these privates. Make a long story short, we get these privates, and they're rushing through a whole bunch of stuff they shouldn't. And I was pissed that morning, so I went out and I lit into some ass, this and that, blah 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 blah. And this kid we've been having a problem with for a few weeks. I said, I'm done. Go grab your shit, go to the first sergeant, tell him you're getting an Article 15 because I am done with your ass. And we'll do the paperwork when I get done today, but I don't want to see you the rest of the day. Top sergeant majors show up that afternoon. They're like, hey, can we talk to you for a minute? I'm like, yeah. He said, I lit into this kid down there and he started bawling. He said, did you know he's a junior in high school, fixing to be a senior? And I'm like, what? He said, apparently this whole platoon that we just jumped up in the middle of, our company, was split options. They say, what? He said, they're all split options. Every one of them is split option. He said, I just checked. There's no infantry. There's no infantry. There's no nothing. They're all mechanics. It's all split option. They're going back for their senior year, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, damn. Because and you're not going to be gentler on them, but you're not going to
go full throttle.
Yeah, you're not going to go full throttle because you're not going to Article 15 and kick a kid out between his junior. You're just not going to do that. You're going to find a way to make this work. And, kid come back up and was squared away after that. Apparently putting the fear of God into him worked out, turned out to be one of our best graduates that year from boot camp. And like I said, we didn't turn it off. It's just there comes a point that you don't waste time with certain people because they're just not going to get it. But you have to know this information up front to know that you're dealing with high school kids,
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a good option for families and kids because you don't have any money. The kid wants a job, can't get a job, needs to go to school because he's eligible for benefits once that's done, which means he can go on his weekend and sign up for college classes at the time and get.
So I'll tell you a good example of that. This is a real life that I witnessed myself. In our company, there was a kid that did that, and he did it before I joined the company. So he did split option, blah blah blah. By the time I met him, he was 21 years old, and he was pinned staff sergeant at 21 years old. He was the youngest staff sergeant in the National Guard at that time ever to be pinned. but his record had started. He's 21. He might have been 22. He'd already had 5 or 6 years of service because he went in at 17 and did that split option, and his clock started ticking.
Mm-hmm.
Time and service clock.
And they get to sign up for extra duty. They can do, if those units have something going on, they can do extra weekends or whatever's approved and get paid, or used to be. And, this is what recruiters used to be able to sell. They used to have a package that they could sell, and it wasn't based upon the gender and all the DEI stuff. It was based upon serving your country, God, flag, family mentality that used to be up there. And nowadays people don't.
The Holy Trinity, it used to be God, family, country.
Yeah.
And that's the role it was. But I think a lot of these, again, besides the Marine Corps, but a lot of the branches, and I haven't really seen any Air Force commercials that much, but the Army, we saw that commercial, and the Navy, I think they're biting themselves in the ass. I'm going to show you this ad, this digital campaign ad that the Navy did about a year ago, trying to get new recruits. Now, check this one out. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
The U.S. Navy now turning to drag queen influencers to attract new recruits.
I receive attention just for being myself on a daily because being queer, being non-binary, someone such as myself on a regular gets stared at.
I'm at the top of my game. I'm right up there with the big dogs. Girls, come on. Leave the
You gotta be kidding me.
This is the Navy's campaign.
Active
We
duty
cracked
second
jokes for
class
years.
Joshua
Look
Kelly
where it
doubles
led.
as drag queen Harpy Daniels, and now is the face
That's Harpy
of the
Daniels.
Navy's recruitment drive as
I
a
don't know.
digital ambassador. Well, the Navy recruited only 982 new reserve officers last year, well short of its goal of nearly 1,400. Former Navy.
You see what I'm saying?
Damn. Well, and it's
So
funny
he goes
you
by
bring
Harpy Daniels.
Hey,
Hey,
that old World War II veteran on the sidewalk.
imagine these guys on some of the Battle of Midway watching this.
Hey.
Yeah. And hey, you do you, right? You do you.
Yeah. But
whatever.
And here's what bugs me. That uniform, the way he was dressed and everything, we took pride in the uniform, and it didn't matter what you did or didn't do. You wore that uniform as it was meant to be uniformed. It wasn't a DI tool. It wasn't none of this. It had a different meaning. And this whole, it's disgusting. It's not about personal beliefs, and if people want to get offended, they can. Everybody has their beliefs. But when you're in an organization, it has nothing to do with that. The U.S. military has nothing to do with that.
If this guy wants to do that on the side, that's cool, man. Do it on leave. Do it after hours. Whatever.
Dude,
but the Navy is bringing this in to promote this. This is what you could be if you go in the Navy.
There was guys on the side that had side jobs, and women that worked as pole dancers, Chippendale dancers. When they were off duty, pizza runners. Everybody had their little forte of stuff that they did outside
They
of
didn't
duty.
show up in a G-string
And
in formation for PT and nipple tassels.
No, they did. And it's trying to I always thought the military had a better system than everybody else. It wasn't perfect, but at least there was checks and balances that were utilized, and it took a lot of the bullshit that you didn't deal with every day. The public problems away. That's why they didn't allow you to watch Jerry Springer on the 24-hour TVs in some duty station, because we didn't want to hear the arguments. We didn't want to hear the fights. It had nothing to do with the duty, And then you see stuff like that, and the camaraderie jokes that we had for 100 years have become reality. And it's like, well, now that sucks. That takes all the fun away from insulting each other.
I know. It's like, and that goes back to, I really think that we would have more recruits, or they would meet their goals, if they just wouldn't do this shit like this. It's like,
I think so too.
I don't know. If I'm looking for a job, whether it be military or civilian or whatever, I'm not going to watch a video like this and say, oh my goodness, this is exactly where I want to go. This is what I want to do, because I want to know about the company. I want to know about my advancements. What's my training opportunities to advance, my pay, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll mention it. I won't mention the company, but a company we both worked for. There was an individual that they hired, and he eventually quit to move back out East Tennessee because of his wife's job. He was ex-military. And we had an offline conversation one day because I was always teasing him, because he was an officer. And, that's what you do. Officers suck. So enlisted are stupid. Officers suck. That's just the way you handle stress with each other. But he told me the reason he got out, resigned his commission and all that was because they were pushing agendas that he didn't agree with. And he, as a officer, was in charge of a group of men, and they were telling him, micromanaging how he was dealing with them and telling him what personally outside of normal this stuff we're talking about, what he had to allow and accept. And it goes back to the COVID shots and a whole bunch of other stuff. And he said, enough's enough. This isn't the U.S. military. This isn't what I'm here to protect. You've taken everything that I signed up to protect. What my recruiter told me, he said, everything that we knew, that we got, and he looked at me and said, your generation, I want to pop him. I wasn't that old, but all joke. But he said, everything that we've been taught, well, what's this for? Why am I here? Because this is not what I'm here to defend. I'm here to defend this country, this flag. He said, and I'm being told that I have to tell a guy that he's out of the service because he doesn't want a COVID shot, that it's mandatory.
So that goes back to like agendas. The agendas we just saw in these campaigns from our military. The only agenda that the military should be holding up to is to protect and serve and defend the people of the United States of America. That's the only agenda that you should have. And that should be your only mission. I'm not saying don't be fair to people in the military and have that regard, but the overall mission is to protect, serve, and defend the people of the United States of America.
And it's funny you mention that because the recruiter that I talked to used to talk about what I was talking about. I was talking about. He used to sell part of the fact of the uniform and some of the stuff that you're talking about as your off-duty life, that you represent that branch of the service. And I was just thinking about this because last night, the way those cops were acting on that sidewalk is a bad representation of Lebanon Police Department. And I'm going to mention it because I'm at a point now I don't care. But the same way with the uniform, he used to say, manners is not control. Courtesy is not controlled by society. That's just being a good person, period. And he said, when you're off duty, and this is an Air Force recruiter, not a Marine Corps recruiter. He said, when you're off duty, you still represent the United States Air Force, the United States Army, Marine Corps, Navy. And he says, well, a lot of these guys forget when they go get drunk at a local bar. That's what everybody sees. They see a bunch of drunk guys out of unit. Well, you can't let them out off the post because they're stupid, and they get drunk and they get crazy. I'm not saying it don't happen, but, and those values are not represented in this recruiting topic we have. They're not. The gender equalities and stuff, they're not talking about values. They're not talking about being part of a team, being an individual, separate,
Right. So you hit it right there on the head. Is they're promoting, and there's nothing wrong in the civilian world with being your own individual. But when you join an organization such as the military, you are no longer yourself. You are part of the collective. You are part of a team. It's no more I. It's us. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people missed, or especially, I hate to keep bashing the younger generation, but it seems like that's what they've always grown up with is me, I. And the us never comes into it. They don't realize what's.
You're 100% correct. And there's something to be said, and then employers and these people that sit at these HR meetings and say toxic and going on with all this crap. What they don't realize is the lack of teamwork because of this. There's no dedication to follow through. There's no dedication to get the job done. There's only dedication to appease those that are offended. And the military was all about being happy. They wanted you because their best saying that I ever heard was, a bitching soldier is a happy soldier. Because soldiers would complain about anything, but they weren't complaining about the important stuff. You know, they were complaining, well, the toilet paper's not on, the son of a bitch done this. You know, it's stuff like
Damn
that.
omelet MRE again. I don't want the veggie omelet.
Dude, I give you $20 to trade.
$20. I'll
You ain't got
trade.
$20.
But you're right. So going back, and I even carry that mentality with me today, where my current employer is, you know, I'm the director. I have people underneath me or what have you in my department. And it doesn't matter what new policies I've implemented that's created some success or whatever that, you know, I've had them. And I'm teaching the guys that's underneath me to do this. I never use, even when I'm meeting by myself with my leadership, I never use, well, I did this and this and this and this, which resulted in this. I say, we did, or my team did this, and it resulted in this. Because without them, there wouldn't be an I.
Mm-hmm. And you're 100% right. And that used to be what was instilled in every step of our training, every bit of it. Now, you get away from group punishments and group this and that, and it does get to a point, you know, Sergeant Cochran, you did an outstanding job, and here's an achievement medal for what you done, you know, or hey, Ken Free, here's an Article 15 because you got drunk and run the deuce and a half through the pool,
right.
You know, whatever it may be, that individuality was still there. But the collective team that was assigned to work together. And here's what I loved about it. You may want to go home and I don't know, let's piss some people off. Be part of the KKK or Malcolm X or the drag queen, something serious, okay, to make this point. That may be what you do at night. But during the day, there was no veteran that was going to let another veteran take a bullet to the head out there in the field.
No.
And I don't care what they say. I have seen some of the most racist people reach down and pick up the people he's hated and say, come on, buddy, we got to get through this obstacle course. We, and not you, and not your sorry, blah, 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 blah ass. That might happen later at night at the club or something, you know, somewhere else. But when that duty was going on, I saw some of the most hated people come together as a team and get the job done every freaking day.
No, yeah, and I think we hit on that before. Is like you could, on the previous episode, you could have people in your platoon or your squad, like you said, you just freaking hate. They're the most aggravating assholes that you've ever met in your life, and you just want to punch them and kick them. But when the shit goes down, and you're out there, it's, I got your back, you got mine.
Yep.
And then afterwards we can go kick each other's ass. Let's get out of this.
And I'm not going to say it was perfect, but the recruiters could sell that part of teamwork and ownership. And see, we talk about this, you get to this, all this HR stuff people talk about, ownership, teamwork. They don't know the real meaning of it.
Right.
I'm not saying veterans know it perfectly, but they probably understand it more of a practical state than most companies do. And because of the poor recruiting in the military and that mentality, it affects the job market. Because there was a study done quite a number of years ago by a recruiting office, and not individual service, but all of them together. I wish I could find it. But basically, they found that the more productive workers came out of the military after 4, 5, 6 years and went to employment because they've been doing the job that they was getting educated on. They were getting better training than the unions were giving because the training was from the same civilian companies setting up the guidelines and the military was implementing it. And basically, the companies that were recruiting these guys were getting what they wanted. You know, teamwork, people that would work for less than normal money and not
I saw a clip or short. I wished I had put it in, but it was funny. It showed the caption said, this guy just got out of the military or whatever and goes to work for a civilian company. And he reports to his boss and he's like, boss, I'm so sorry. I'm late. I'm late. And his boss goes, "You're 15 minutes early. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. I operate under that. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
You're late, right? 15 minutes prior to 15 minutes prior.
And I'll say this, going back to kind of the recruiting numbers hurting, the VA and the news and social media has not helped recruiting. Too much bad trauma stuff is put out there, and not enough of the good stuff is talked about. I mean, less than 1% of actual combat veterans fire a shot. Doesn't mean they didn't get blown up and hurt, but your actual getting in there fighting and hand to hand is not as high of a number. But here's what's funny. There's a lot more injuries and loss of legs and stuff from people that never fired a shot. I mean, when you look at the numbers, they publicize all that, and then they say, "Oh, come join the military." Well, no, that is something that does occur, and I'm not going to lie. I'll say it right now. I'm pretty much where I can't do anything. I have to have help getting out of the tub. I have my good days and my bad days, but my body is tore up. But
now that's where I'm going to draw the line with "got you back." I'm not going to help you get out of the tub.
Yeah, I got somebody for that. She's pretty hot, so but
no, I'm just kidding.
That is the stuff that scares when you publicize it. And growing up, my grandfather didn't talk about his problems. He didn't publicize it for the entire world to say, he's World War II vet. Now, he talked about some stuff, a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah, good old war stories.
Yeah, I told war stories. And here's I guess what I'm getting at here is, it doesn't matter what you do, pro football player, IT, whatever your job is. At the end of it, you're supposed to be able to sit back and say, "I done this, I did that. This is what I got out of it. I'm happy I got this out of it." Could I have another 100 years? I don't know. Who wants to live forever? Highland, who the hell wants to live forever? But I would do it again. But kids today, why should I? Why should I climb that rope? It's too hard. I climbed it because I wanted to beat the sumbitch next to me. It had nothing to do with combat. When we did the obstacle course, me and Andy run that sucker one day, and we were running in twos. When we went up the log and did the whole thing and got to the damn rappel rope, I didn't check up. He didn't check up. We went over head first and zip line to the bottom, flipped out of that, was pushing each other and fighting to the end. I got caught in the cargo net, and he turned around and hit me in the gut and run to the end. Those days, I wouldn't trade for nothing.
No.
Nothing. And when and the reason I'm bringing this story up, because my recruiter sold me on one thing about the teamwork and the kind of people I would meet. I found those people in the oil field, different jobs, and I really appreciated what I got from them, Matt. And that's the part of my recruiter sold to me that he delivered on. I met people that, through thick or thin, solid people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll even go back to the job I just had not the job I just had, job before. Anyway, before I met you at, me and you have stayed in touch. You have picked up the phone and called more than some people I helped. And that's just the way it's been. My wife just walked in. Says,
"Hello, wife."
Matt said hello.
So before we're getting towards the end, but I wanted to ask you a question, and this is something I personally think should happen. I want to know your opinion on it. Mandatory 2 years military service. Should we or should we not?
That's a hard one because we live in an all-volunteer world, and that was one of the things that the military said when they went to it. They wanted people that wanted to be there, and they didn't want to be like other countries where it was mandatory. We have to maintain a structure at some point with selective service. They will draft people. I think that it's an option but it's a tough option. I wouldn't say do it right now, but at some point it may need to be done for the sake of the country. Korean, I think South Korea does it. North Korea does it. A few other countries do it. And it's good. It's good to give somebody an option. Well, force them to have an option, if you will, to better themselves. What they do with it afterwards. The problem with 2 years, though, that I run into, 2 years, you don't learn squat in the military. If you think about it, your first 4 years is almost getting you prepped to do another 4 years. You're almost like cannon fodder. It takes that long, the first 2 years, just to get you to train to do something useful. 10, 14 weeks boot camp, AIT. Some of the ITs are a year long. Then you go to your unit and you learn how a real unit functions. So your first 2 years is pretty much all training. So there's some benefits to it. There's some drawbacks,
I'm kind of more on the, we kind of should do it. And your points are valid and I see those, but why I lean towards we should do it is simply the fact of what we brought up earlier is forcing discipline and some instruction and structure in some of these kids' lives, and just to get them into the world, get them out of the house, get them out in front of the TV, experience something different for the first time in your life. I'm not saying take all of them and throw you in the infantry.
Yeah.
Like, do the evaluation. Let's see what you're good at here. Maybe you could be an HR specialist. Maybe you could be an S1, S2, S3.
Lawyer.
It doesn't matter. But hey, you're going to get out. You're going to go through a few weeks training. You're going to do boot camp and AIT. You're going to serve for a year. And, either you like it, you don't, but at least you did something. But I get where you're coming from is that, you start, it's like going to a job and you work there for a year and you quit and say, I just don't understand this job, versus being there for 5-6 years and saying, yeah, your processes are wrong.
I still think Starship Troopers had it right. I mean,
well, I've got to watch that movie again. So
you need to watch it. But the whole gist of the movie was you were free, but you could not be a citizen until you served in the military. If you want to be a politician, citizen,
that's right.
Because they're talking about it in the shower. Yeah. If you want to do all this, you had to serve before you can do it. And
but their service was a little brutal.
It was a little brutal, but at the end of the day, though, I do think it says a lot about the mentality of people and how they thought that they cared enough about being a citizen in their country to earn it. And right now, nobody wants to earn nothing in this country. Everybody just wants gimme.
Right.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, and that's that. And I kind of, I guess that goes back to the father kind of in me, like kick the little birdies out of the nest. They fly. If they break their wing, then you fix it up. You should tell them how not to break their wing the next time. But at least they got a damn nest and broke their wing. Kind of thing.
It's I don't know. There's really no right or wrong answers anymore. There's what works and most effective. But we're at a point in this country, I think we have to look what's best for the country.
Yeah.
More than what's best for me.
Definitely, we're going to start wrapping things up. But, our numbers are down, recruiting numbers are down. And when I say they're down, they're way down, but you got to realize that the military is less than 1%. And so you take it, if say the Army and the Navy is down 15%, didn't meet the recruiting goals, you're dropping that even more. So you're talking hundreds of thousands of people versus a million person military. So that since we're already such a small percentage, then you take that other percentage, it makes the shrinkage is just terrible. And so, if there's anybody out there, and I doubt there's any young kids out there, and I hope they are, that's watching this, thinking about joining the military, don't give it up, man. You don't have to go be gung ho and be G.I. Joe and live in dirt and all this stuff. There's all kinds of different ways you can serve, different jobs out there. You just have to have the test scores. You got to talk. You got to negotiate it like an adult of which job you want and where you want to go with your career. Even if you're not 100% sure, you kind of have an idea. So don't think that just because you join the military, they're going to slap a gun in your hand, stick you in some foreign country, make you walk around with 300 rounds of ammunition from day one where you're getting shot at. It's not like that. So take and think about this. Take your future in your own hands if you want to do it. It is a good route if that's your choice. So I just wish the recruiters and the powers that be above would quit doing Harpy Daniels and DEI commercials and all this makes it look like you're joining the Peace Corps kind of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and you're absolutely right. These kids have all these facilities to use to research. Spend some time researching it. YouTube, look at real soldiers and what they do on a daily basis. Get away from all the fluffity fluff and see what really goes. Look at the job list. That is a public record of what every branch has, every job that's out there. I mean, EOD, instead of playing Call of Duty, really go blow some shit up.
For real, man. Yeah. It's awesome whenever you get to really shoot a gun and really blow something up. So it's a great feeling. So
peacetime demolition. I mean, where you're getting paid to destroy stuff. I mean, you go to a range, it's got unexploded ordnance. You go out there and you plant some ordnance to blow some ordnance up. It's like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
First time you do it, you may not ever use, oh God, I'm going to hate this. The first time you're like, oh my God, this is so awesome. When can we do it again? It's that kind of adrenaline rush. So we're going to wrap things up, but one of the things I wanted to put out there, and thanks for listening to the end, everybody, if you did. I know we're ramble on sometimes, but I'm going to put a link in the description to where you can donate to the Wounded Warrior Project. If you don't know what that is, it's a great organization, very legit. They've helped me out, and they help out a lot of people, or a lot of veterans, not even just veterans, but people that are already in the service. They help them out also. So check it out. Go there, donate $5, $10, it doesn't matter. Or you can donate some time. So check it out. I'll have that in the link. Be sure to like, subscribe, put in the comments if you have any stories that you want to tell, or shoot me an email. Let us know. We'll be glad to bring it up. Ken, any last thoughts?
Nothing. Just I just like to ask everybody if they like the show to share it and things like that, but also take it in context that you try to cram a lot of information into an hour and you can't touch base on everything. So, Vietnam vets, World War II vets, Korea War vets. There's a lot of veterans out there, guys.
Right.
And, I think they should probably contact you and send you an email if they got some good stories to share.
Definitely. I would love to hear. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I'm reaching out to some of my old buddies from the Army that I served with and seeing if they want to come on and share their stories, or hell, if I don't even know you, just let me know. Anyway, thanks again. This is the Vet Files. Matt Cochran here along with Ken Freeney. Again, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. We're here all the time, and we have nowhere else to go. Thanks for watching.
Take care.
Every tale's got pride from the battlefield's edge to the home court side. Tune in, turn it up, hear the heroes speak. The Vet Files bring the truth every week. From the fight to the mic, it's a soldier's life. You're live with the Vet Files, real stories, real life.